Well, good morning. Good morning, and happy Valentine's Day. Let's take this opportunity to turn within, to bless our service, to open our service today with prayer. And so as we do turn within, we connect with the divine light, the divine love that we are, with that presence of God that resides within us, that presence that exists as divine love, the divine love that our co-founder Charles Fillmore said was the greatest harmonizing principle known to humanity. That divine power that has the ability to heal, to bring about joy and abundance, and the reminder of the truth that we are the Christ light. And so in this moment, we commit to shining that divine love brightly, to allowing that divine love to radiate forth from us, to radiate from us as the great harmonizing principle that it is. And we see our world being healed as a result. And so it is. Amen. Well, I want to welcome Dan Beckett to the platform with me today. Reverend Jan is away on vacation, and so we asked Dan if he'd like to come and help us out. And for those of you that don't know Dan, you're in your final year at Unity Institute and Seminary.
That's right, third and final.
So yeah, you're not at all excited about getting to June and graduating.
Graduation, ordination, June 9th.
Yeah.
And I'm not counting the days yet.
No, you didn't have that date already in your head.
Oh, no.
Okay, no.
Somewhere around June 9th.
Yeah. Well, many of you may know Dan. He's been leading our Bible study here for quite a while now. And it's been on hiatus for a little bit. It just started back up today.
Yes, that's right. We started up again today, so I invite you all to attend. We'll be meeting on second and fourth Sundays at 9:30 in Harmony Hall 3. Each week we'll discuss a different topic. There's no registration, so feel free to show up anytime. Just drop on in. We'd love to see you.
Right. So February 28th will be your next.
That's right, February 28th.
Right, but for now, I'd like to invite you to stand and join with our song leaders in singing, "I am free, I am unlimited."
I am free, I am unlimited, right now.
I invite you to prepare as Kelley and Amanda lead us into a time of meditation.
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me.
Taking a deep breath together, let us relax into this time and this place. Let us turn within together to the Christ consciousness found within each and every one of us. Relaxing even more deeply, let us open our hearts to the presence of Spirit found within. It is from this place that we remember our true identities. It is from this place that we remember the ever-present Spirit that dwells within. It is from this place that we find our peace. Allowing our hearts to open further, we take in all that has been prepared for us, all that is who we are. It is in this way that we find the true balance that is our true nature. Knowing that when we live from the Christ within, truly all is well. Truly our lives are in balance. Let us now take this joy, this knowing, this experience of Spirit within into the silence. Into the silence. Taking a deep breath again together. Let us acknowledge the joy of this place. The joy in knowing our ability to come apart for a while at any moment. The Christ within is always available everywhere. And when we touch this truth, all is well. And in gratitude for this ability and this knowing, in gratitude for the Spirit found within, in gratitude for our ability to reconnect, we say, thank you, Spirit. And so it is. Amen.
Please join me in singing the echo version of the Lord's Prayer.
Well, happy Valentine's Day. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about this. Is it really going to be acceptable for us to have a service on Valentine's Day and the theme for my talk to have nothing to do with divine love? I think it's going to have to be. But it kind of works out, because what we're talking about today is it's the second part of this idea of living a life of balance. And last week we talked about how you could find balance in your body, your mind, and your spirit, and how that balance is an internal process. And that if we're experiencing a lack of balance or things out of balance in the world around us, that if we go within first, it brings our outer world into balance. And as much as I would love to sit under the tree and just meditate my own little shell and worry about bringing my mind, my body, and my spirit into balance and focusing solely on that, it's just not possible. You know, try as I might, the one thing I've learned is that Harper likes to eat. I like to eat. And so in order to, facilitate that happening, I have to interact with the world. We don't have a choice. We have to go out and interact with those people around us and that world around us. And guess what? That takes balance. We have to learn to have all of those relationships in our life in balance. And so that's where I figured, okay, we'll be all right on Valentine's Day, because we're going to talk about how to balance those relationships. Because what I've learned, what I've explored, and what I've experienced is that if your relationships are out of balance, the rest of you isn't far behind. And I'm not just talking about those big relationships, the relationships with a spouse or a partner or our family or our friends, those close relationships. Because we certainly know that's true, right? You know, the one thing I've experienced in my life is if I have a happy wife, my life is so much happier. But if she's not happy, I'm out of balance. We know that. We've experienced all of that. But it's also those little relationships, right? Those just passing moments where we interact with somebody that can throw us out of balance. It's that moment where we're pulling into the parking spot and that person whips in front of us and then makes sure to let us know that they saw it first and they were the ones that were there and we're their favorite person and they think we're number one in their book, right? But if we're not in balance internally, what happens when that happens to you? It throws everything out of balance. We're out of balance emotionally. We're out of balance mentally and physically and then spiritually. So it just takes that one thing and then those dominoes start falling. So we're going to take a look at how to find that balance in those relationships. Because that's how we interact with the world. The tapestry of our lives is woven through the relationships that we have with others, through that exchange of the divinity within ourselves with someone else. And nothing snags that tapestry faster than one of those relationships falling out of balance. And balance in your relationship, it looks like so many things. It can be the balance of giving and taking in a relationship. And we're going to talk about that next Sunday, on Rock and Roll Sunday. So we'll talk about how you can give and take in your relationship then. It can also look like the balance between listening and talking. And we've all experienced those relationships, right? The relationships where that's out of balance. It's that conversation where you have to wait for them to stop to take in some air before you can get your answer in. And if you've never experienced that in your relationship, chances are you may be the one that needs to move towards balance in listening. So balance in your relationship, it can look like so many things. I don't know what it looks like for you, but there are certain elements that are unique to all of our relationships. And there's one particular type of relationship that I want us to focus on to bring balance to. And that's the supportive relationships, the social relationships in our lives. Because scientific research and the scientific community, they're actually starting to discover that these social relationships, these emotional support relationships, they make a positive impact on our physical health. What the scientific community is discovering is that in a hospital setting, patients that are surrounded by social and emotional support, their physical health does much better than patients that aren't. And the scientists have figured this out, but now what they're trying to figure out is why. They've observed that it happens, but now they're asking the question, why? Well, I have a hypothesis. My hypothesis would be that the reason we're seeing an increase in the physical health of people who have balanced relationships is because they're experiencing balance in their relationship. If you're experiencing balance in your relationship, then you have balance in your emotional health. And if you have balance in your emotional health, then it's in your mental health, and then your physical health, and in your spiritual health. They're all interconnected. So how do we return that to balance, that relationship dynamic to balance? Well, as paradoxical as this sounds, the way we do that is by going within. If we're balanced in our mind, our body, and our spirit, when that person cuts into that parking spot in front of you, it just has a way of rolling off your back. It doesn't affect you as much because you're already balanced. Because what you know is that your balance came from within here. It wasn't dependent on what that guy in the Range Rover just did. So that's the simplest way to do that. But I also know I can't just stand up here and say, so you want more balance in your relationship? Just go back, pay attention to what we did last week and do that and you'll be fine. There's more to it than that. Because a lot of times we have relationships that are out of balance and we don't know it. We don't realize it. We get so busy and distracted that that relationship just falls out of balance, and then the next thing we know, the dominoes start falling and we're in trouble. So how can you help identify what relationship is out of balance? Well, the list makers out there, you're going to love this one. You're going to start out by making a list of every relationship in your life, all of them. Not just the important ones, every relationship. Your spouse, your partner, your wife, your child, your daughter, your dog, your cat, your fish, your bird, all of it. Every living thing that you interact with at any level, write it down. We're going to rank them later, so don't worry. You'll get a chance to rank them. But do not leave someone off the list because you either don't like that person or because you think the relationship's not important. Because that's an important element of what you're going to do next. So you have your list of all these people. And now you're going to assign 2 ranks to each person. The first ranking you're going to give them on a scale of 1 to 10 is how important is this relationship to my life? How important is my life in this relationship? So, like for Sarah and Harper, I'm going to put a 10 next to them. For many of you, I'm going to put 10s next to you. If we go through the list, we'll be here forever. So that's how important that relationship is to you. The next number that you're going to write is how much time have I been giving to this relationship on a scale of 1 to 10. And I think you can see where we're going here. If you take a look at those 2 numbers and those relationships that you said were most important to you, that you gave a 10 to, if when you looked at how much time am I spending, you wrote a 4 or a 5, there's your balance problem right there. And it works the other way too. If there was a relationship that you said, well, maybe this one's not as important, so I'm going to give it a 3 or a 4, but then you said you were giving it a 10 as far as the amount of time you were devoting to it, there's your balance problem right there. And so just knowing that, you're able to readjust how you're spending your time. Now, I can hear some of you already saying that's all well and good. And I can do that with certain relationships. But I have to work. And some of those relationships that I'm giving a lot of time to, I can't let go of, because if I let go of them, then I won't be as productive at work. And if I'm not as productive at work, then my hours are going to go down, then I won't be making as much money. And if I'm not making as much money, then I'm probably going to lose my house. And if I lose my house, then I'm going to wind up living in a van down by the river. I get it. We have to work. And work is very important. But I just saw a study recently that said that in today's era, in this day and age, the average American has to work almost the equivalent of 1 month more every year than they did in 1970 just to attain the same lifestyle that they would have lived in 1970. Think about that. The average American has to work paid hours, 200 hours more of labor a year today than they did in 1970 just to attain the same lifestyle. And so with all those extra hours and those side jobs and part-time jobs and added shifts and extra gigs, you can see how we fall out of balance. You can see how easy it is to get caught up in the, oh, well, I have to go do this right now. And it's hard to be in balance when we're fatigued and overworked and stressed. So what do we do about that? Well, I could tell you to get your list back out and to write down everything that you've spent your money on. We're going to simplify our lives. You're going to write down everything that you've spent your money on. You're going to write down how much you spent on that. And then you're going to ask yourself, how much joy did these things bring to me? How much joy did each one of these things bring to me? And then you'll ask yourself, okay, well, if it didn't bring me very much joy, do I really need to work so hard to get the stuff that doesn't bring me the joy to begin with? Can I live simpler? We could do that, and we could spend time talking about how to do that. But I want us to go deeper than that, or higher, or farther, or whatever spiritual analogy you want to use. You see, the lists, the making the lists, the knowing, that's all wonderful. And it does serve a purpose. It's going to help you identify what you've been giving your energy to. But guess what? It'll only be a matter of weeks, months, years before you're sitting down making a list again. If you want to really and truly bring that life into balance, what we have to do instead is make a shift in our consciousness. We have to change how we look at the world around us. We have to boldly declare the truth of what we are. We have to get to that realization that there's absolutely nothing from this world around me that's going to bring my life into a greater balance than it already is. Because the balance that I have is already within me. Here at Unity Church of Overland Park, we call that balance the Christ. It's the perfect presence of God that's within you. And we know how to begin making that shift in our consciousness. We make the shift in consciousness by declaring the truth that we know that we are. By declaring, I am the Christ, and I dedicate my life to a life of service, a life of growth, a life of learning, a life of family, a life of meaningful work. Because what we know is when we set our intention, our life begins to change as a result. And I thought about saying, well, that's it. That's how we do this. We make that shift in consciousness by affirming the following thing. And we'll put the affirmation up, and everybody will say the affirmation, and that's how this process begins. And what I realized is that your shift in consciousness, it's personal to you. That languaging that I used, I am the Christ, that's what works for me. Maybe I am divine spirit works for you. I am the presence of God. I am the peace that surpasses whatever word for God you want to use. And then remember a few weeks ago when we talked about core values? That's what it is that you'll dedicate yourself to. So for me, making my shift in consciousness, that shift that says that I'm no longer a dissatisfied consumer that's just here to merely be entertained. I am a spiritual being, and I am dedicating my life to. If we can begin to do that, that balance starts growing from within. Because remember, you can make all the lists you want, but until we really, firmly, truly get that this idea of living a life of balance is an internal process first, we'll always be getting pulled back out of balance by whatever it is in the world, the man in the Range Rover, the item we thought was on sale, but then we got there and they rang it up and it wasn't on sale, and we had to fight with the cashier about it. Until we realize that that balance comes from within, those things always pull us out. And so this week I'm going to invite you to take some time to begin making that shift in your consciousness by spending every morning affirming the truth that you are the power, the presence, the perfectness of God. By every morning declaring that you dedicate your life to living a life of wholeness, to living a life of balance, to growing yourself spiritually. I'm going to invite you to take some time to do that this week, to really begin shifting how you see and interact with the world. Because that'll go farther to living a life of balance than anything else in the world. And then I'm going to invite you to come back next week and join us for Rock and Roll Sunday. By the way, feel free to dress however you would normally dress if you were going to a concert, keeping in mind that we're still coming to a church service, so you know. But certainly, wear your favorite concert tee, wear your favorite band t-shirt. And join us as we explore the idea of giving and taking, because what I've realized is that, we're all aware of this shift that we're trying to make. And we know that we've made this shift in our consciousness. And it's all wonderful and lovely and good, and we'll go downstairs, and we have coffee, and we have the treats downstairs, and then we go out into the world. And the world hasn't realized that we've made a shift in consciousness. And we encounter people in the world whose beliefs are different than ours, who think differently than us and feel differently than us. And we have to interact with them and talk to them and share things with them. So how do we do that? How do we maintain the inclusiveness that we know beyond just wanting to say, I respect your right to be wrong? And what we realize is that once we've made this shift in our consciousness, then interacting with the world becomes a balance of give and take. And so join us next week as we explore how to take that balance from this newfound shift in your consciousness and enter into that give and take with the world around you. But until then, just take this opportunity to affirm the spiritual truth that you are. That knowledge that you are the perfect balance of the light and the love of God. Take time every morning to remind yourself of that truth. And let that consciousness begin to shift and go deeper within yourself. So until next week, God bless you.